At CAA Arena in Belleville with former Peterborough Pete's, so we'll call him a fan favorite, Steve Lorentz, played over 160 games with the Pete's during his 4 years, 2013 to 2017, now finding a home in the American Hockey League with the Charlotte Checkers. Thanks for doing this, Stevie.
Yeah, thanks a lot for having me, Footy. Like you were saying before, it's been a while since I've seen you, so it's nice to see a familiar face around here.
Yeah, it's been a couple seasons since you were in Peterborough. You've been back and forth between Charlotte and Florida, the ECHL. How have you found the jump to pro hockey?
It was a little different at first. Obviously, the guys are much bigger and stronger. That's what everyone notices right away. But playing in Florida last year kind of helped my development, where I wasn't really thrown in the fire in the American League. So I learned a lot from a lot of the guys there who have been in this league and in the NHL too. And we made a good run to the finals. So. I just kind of was like a sponge and soaked in everything that year, and I came in on a mission this year. I started the year in Florida, but now that I've been called up, I'm just trying to make the most of my opportunity.
It's a pretty deep organization that you're in right now in Carolina. How tough is it to kind of make yourself known and make a mark in an organization like this?
I think a lot of it's mental because, at the end of the day, each guy's here for a reason. And if you kind of start looking at other guys' games and trying to do stuff that's not really in your playbook, then that's kind of when you get into trouble and you struggle a little bit. So I've kind of just taken a step back and thought that, you know what, they believed in me and they gave me a contract, so I must be doing something right. So I'm just trying to come in here every single day and learn from the older guys and work as hard as I can. And hopefully, one day I can earn a spot with the Canes.
You mentioned the mental preparation. I was going to ask about that because, you go from junior where you're a top-line guy, you're playing a pile of minutes a game, and now you're in the American Hockey League where even tonight you had a handful of shifts, but you make your impact felt when you're out there. How do you deal with that mentally, knowing that you're maybe not going to play as much as some of the other guys and that you really have to work to get that spot?
It's tough. At the same time, a lot of guys have gone through it before. Every single guy was a young guy once. It's very rare that a guy will step into this league and just light it up from the word go. So it is a learning experience for every single guy. And like I just said, every guy goes through it. Every guy's a rookie in this league at some point. So I think once you kind of pay your dues and you go through that transitioning process and you start getting comfortable, that's when the confidence comes and that's when you really start to excel and you can move up in the lineup.
Anybody in particular who you've kind of leaned on in your first couple of years playing pro?
There's so many good leaders that I've come across. Last year in Florida, we had a bunch of guys with NHL experience, and I think on this team right now, you can look at our leadership group with Brownie and Stortini and Carrick. Those guys, they've been here and they've been through it all before. So anytime those guys are speaking in the locker room, you just kind of listen, and hopefully you can get in their good books, and they'll give you pointers and guidelines along the way.
A lot of familiar former OHLers on your team as well. Let's talk about Peterborough a little bit. How much do you think back to your 4 years with the Petes?
I think about it every day. That's like you said, it was 4 years, and that kind of shaped my career, and that's where I grew up and kind of learned the real little details of the hockey game. So when you're in minor hockey, you just kind of go through the motions and you play hard, and eventually you get drafted, and if you're fortunate. And I made a lot of lifetime memories in Peterborough, and they were the best 4 years of my life even still. So I always look back as much as I can and just try and stay in touch with all the guys and coaches and billets and the people that I've met along the way that made my experience so much fun.
We've been lucky enough to bump into a few of your former teammates, Matt Spencer, Eric Cornell, Dominic Machine was here as well with Syracuse Crunch. Do you stay in touch with those guys much, the guys who are playing in the AHL, and how much fun is it to cross paths with those guys when you do?
Yeah, I stay in touch with all those guys. When you're living away from home at such a young age, they kind of become your family, so you lean on them when you need help. And even though we go our separate ways in our hockey career, you always have those lifelong friendships like I was talking about. So whenever I need anything, I can always text one of those guys. And I know that usually on game days, if we're playing against each other, we'll send each other a Snapchat or something like that, and then we'll meet up at the red line and warm-ups. But once the puck drops, it's all business.
And lastly, any advice you'd give to some current Pete's players, guys who may look at you as one of the successful guys who's made the jump to pro as they continue through their careers?
Yeah, I think you just have to enjoy junior and work as hard as you can. It's so cliche, but at the end of the day, that's really all it is. It's the guys who want it the most and the guys who are dedicated and they're going to put the work in. I think I've been following along with that Peterborough group this year, and they've had some injury problems and they've had some young guys contribute, but at the end of the day, they're all fine. They're all playing hockey as their job. So as long as they stick with it, good things will happen.
Stevie, thanks for this. Good to see you, man.
Thanks a lot, buddy. Appreciate it.